Jonathan, let's talk about tech history.
Oh yeah, this week we're covering August 9th through the 15th. And we'll start off with the diesel engine patented on August 9th.
The diesel engine.
Rudolph Diesel. Oh, that's why it's called diesel.
That's funny. The diesel engine. Rudolph Diesel.
Wow. He has his whole name just, it's like immortalized in cars now.
Yeah.
Gasoline.
I think Ford has the Power Stroke diesel engine. Chevy, which one do they? The Duramax diesel engine. And then you have like the big rigs that have their own version of their diesel engine. What's different about diesel versus gasoline?
I'm not sure. I just know maybe it's like a cleaner burning fuel, or I don't know.
Oh, it's hardly that. It's hardly that. In the 70s and 80s, was it the 80s? Maybe just the 70s. Diesel was the reason that Los Angeles had such bad smog in the air. I mean, you used to see buses before Metro, before our transit system converted to Metro, which is a name now. It was called RTD. It was called the Rapid Transit District. And from the bus stop, they would just floor that gas pedal and the exhaust, man, that just this black smoke would just come up, you know? I mean, it just like fill the air. And they had to put the exhaust up on top, because if they put it on the bottom, I mean, they were just going to smoke everyone out. So they wanted to at least, you know, give the smog a lift and actually like send it upwards, you know, above the, you know, the heads of people. But it wasn't a very, it's not a very clean, diesel. In fact, I'm not 100% sure, but I think you get a total of 4 products from crude oil. You get gasoline, or what they call petrol. In the rest of the world, we call it gasoline. You can also, I think that you also get kerosene, and then diesel, and then whatever's left over is what plastic products come from. Which is basically, you know, whatever's left over from once you extract those 3 combustibles. Gasoline is probably the easiest burning. So you can have a bucket of gasoline, throw a match in there, and it's going to light up, and it's going to burn until the gasoline has been completely burnt out. Kerosene's the same way, but kerosene, I think, doesn't burn as hot. I forget which one's which. And then diesel, you can put a bucket of diesel, you could throw a match in there and it won't light up.
Oh wow.
Actually, it just fizzes away. However, if you put diesel under a lot of heat and pressure, the explosion is just massive. So he took the design. I want to say that he took the design of the 4-stroke engine. So the 4-stroke engine, you have a cylinder, right? Let's just say that this mic is a piston. And so there's a cylinder that surrounds the mic, and it's completely airtight. You know, there's like the distance between the edge of the cylinder and the piston, I want to say, and the cylinder is like micrometers. I mean, it's just not even a hair can get through it, okay? Let alone air molecules or fuel molecules. So it's a pretty tight compression. So what happens is that when the piston, I'll replace, this is the cylinder wall and here's the piston, right? What happens is that the piston starts on top, and when it goes down, it draws in air and fuel. So there's air and fuel being mixed in. So the piston draws it down. So it becomes like a vacuum. The valve where the air and the fuel came in shuts, and then the piston goes up and compresses that air and fuel. And once that air and fuel is under compression, there's an ignition. And in the combustion engine, you use a spark plug, which is, there's electricity that jumps the arc. And that electricity ignites it, creates an explosion, which then causes a power stroke, sends the piston downward. And because the piston is in a cylindrical motion with the rod, once it reaches the bottom, it pushes the exhaust. The burnt exhaust goes back out, but it goes out a different valve, and that goes out the exhaust of the car. So in the exhaust of the car, there's a bunch of other things that are going on to turn the carbon monoxide into like carbon dioxide or something or other. I forget exactly. It turns it into something different so that it doesn't destroy the ozone layer in our Earth, right? Mm-hmm. So the diesel engine is not much different, but it needs to run with a turbo. So what happens is that the piston starts on top. You have turbo, which is just forcing a bunch of air into the piston, so it draws out air and it creates a vacuum, but there's already a turbo going on, so it forces even more. And the piston compresses the air, and with the heat, instead of a spark plug, there's a glow plug, and that glow plug is constantly creating heat, so that when it compresses the air, it injects diesel into the compressed chamber. And that compressed chamber, with the heat of the glow plug, causes the diesel to explode, and it causes a power stroke. And because it's under extreme pressure, it creates a much bigger explosion than what compressed gas would create. And so he basically said, oh, well, instead of sucking in the air and the fuel, I'm just going to suck in air, compress the air, and then inject the diesel in there. And the pressure and the heat that's going on is going to cause that explosion and create that power stroke where the piston is actually being pushed down. The diesel produces, I believe it produces 4 to 6 pounds. It requires 4 to 6 pounds of turbo pressure, so positive pressure, but it produces 500 to 600 foot-pounds of torque on that explosion, where 4 to 500 foot-pounds of torque on that power stroke. The gasoline engine only produces 150 to maybe 300, depending on the engine size and the size of the piston, foot-pounds of torque. And so it doesn't produce as much torque as the diesel engine, which is why buses, big rigs, trucks that are going to be pulling heavy, they run on diesel because it doesn't take as much diesel fuel to create that torque. They don't go fast, but they have a lot of torque. I mean, these things can pull houses.
Yeah.
Of the torque itself. And so the only reason I know this is because I took 4 years of auto mechanics, 3 years of auto mechanics in high school, and then I worked as an auto mechanic after high school. And so I kept in touch with the industry. I haven't worked on a car in ages. I think I could barely change a tire or change the oil on today's cars, but back then it was a lot easier to work on them. But that's the only reason I know about the design of the 4-stroke engine and how diesel worked, between gas and diesel and whatnot. But yeah, the guy got an engine named after him, the diesel engine.
Made a more powerful engine.
More pow. That's how, I don't know if to me when I read the Dodge, you know how Toyota has TRD,
Mhm.
the Toyota Racing Development, and then you have I don't know what Chevy and Ford have, but you have Dodge, and their performance parts are Mopar. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Mopow. I seriously think that's what they did. they
somebody in the meeting was like, "We need more pow." Let's call it that.
I call it Mopar. Yeah. Sounds good to me. Cool. What else do we got?
All right. Next up, we have August 11th. Windows gets blasted.
Windows gets blasted. Wow, we went from diesel engine to Windows. That's pretty crazy. The blaster worm. You know, Windows has always been a magnet for just viruses, worms, just all kind of nasty stuff, you know. MS Blast, or the Love Sand, spread the internet, affecting Windows XP and Windows 2000 computers.
So it just shut down your computer?
Yeah, that's essentially what. Wow, look at this. It infected 8 to 16 million computers. The damage caused by the worm was estimated to be at $320 million.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I mean, most computers work off of RPC, right? So these are remote procedure calls. You know, basically you're remoting, you're sending a call from one machine to another and whatnot. And even internally, you can do a remote procedure call just going across memory spaces that an application may call. And so, yeah, when you're shutting down RPC services on a Windows machine, you're basically taking away its communication. I mean, you're isolating it. The worm blaster, or blaster worm. That's crazy.
All right, cool. Next up, we have on August 12th, the IBM PC Introduced.
Wow, look at that monster. Isn't that what your first machine looked like?
Yeah, it looked like that. A Matrix, like that screen.
That was a personal computer. These were floppy disk drives. I still say that these keyboards were the best keyboards.
Oh yeah. Cool. I wonder if it came with a mouse too.
They did not.
No.
The mouse was introduced to the IBM PC, I believe, when Windows 3.1 or Windows 1 was introduced.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there was no reason to have a mouse. They couldn't use it because it was all text based.
Yeah.
It was literally a terminal. That's cool.
Next up, we have August 13th, Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper Fighting for SNES.
This was such a cool game.
Look, it has color too.
Yeah. Well, this is 1993, so did you guys ever play this game?
Yeah.
When they had the arcade version, you know, the big stand-up console ones at the arcades, I always enjoy watching people play it, but I could never win. And when this, I think it was just called Street Fighter. It wasn't Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I think it was just called the original Street Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And when I would play it on the Nintendo, like I could never get anything to work. I could never get any of the superpowers that these characters had to work. I could never, like, nothing. And so I would just sit there and just push buttons like crazy. And once in a one, every random occasion, you get a superpower coming out of my character. I was like, all right, cool. I don't know what I did, but there it is, But I thought it was such a fascinating game. It was really cool. I liked it.
Yeah.
What was were you able to get some of the superpowers to work on these things?
A lot of the times I was just button smashing, but like after a while, you kind of figure out one or two moves and then use that one, and that's all you would use the whole game. So I'd just be throwing fireballs from
just that one
one superpower.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really hard to get the buttons to go in the right order.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it. I had a really hard time. But it was a fun game. I mean, I think if I was to get a retro system, I would get the Super NES, and this is what I would be playing all the time.
Oh yeah. Cool. Next up, we have August 14th. Dell laptops catch fire.
What? Look at that.
Oh wow.
This was 2006. Dell and Sony admit that flaws in Sony manufactured. Oh, because they had their batteries made from Sony. They were causing overheating or exploding.
Oh wow.
Was this when they wouldn't allow laptops on planes and stuff like that because of these batteries? Was this during that time?
Maybe. It's 2006.
Did I have a Dell? No, I had a Dell prior to that. And then for a long time, I only worked on desktops because I felt that the bus speeds on the laptops weren't fast enough, and I always wanted that fast bus speed. So I was working with desktops a lot. And I think around 2009, between 2009 and 2011, somewhere around there, I started switching over to laptops again.
It's pretty crazy though. It just caught fire.
Look
at the watering can that they have next to that guy. That's all they had to try to put it out.
That's crazy. What else do we got?
Next up, we have August 15th. The original Imac goes on sale. Whoa. Brings me back to my elementary school days.
Is this what you guys had in elementary?
That's what we had. The blue computers. And sometimes we had a pink one. Or like a reddish pink.
Yeah. I thought these were kind of cool, actually. What did you guys use these for in elementary?
They just had us doing typing stuff.
So you learn how to type?
Learn how to type. Sometimes they let us, or just like, I don't remember. I just remember playing games on. We just played games.
So you were at school, you were supposed to learn how to type, and you were playing games.
They had games on them, so we just played them. Some of them were typing games, but like there was other games too.
My tax dollars at work. You went to the public school system, Jonathan. I really like these ones when they came out. I think they sold well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I wonder what they did with all these. There's a lot of them in the landfills, I bet.
Yeah.
I think they recycle the parts, though. Wow. It's kind of cool.
That's all we have for tech history this week.
All right. Until next time.